video, I thought I'd answer a question that I actually have gotten a ton, and I'm sure that other crafters probably do too, but basically I get asked almost on a daily basis, believe it or not, which is harder, crochet or knitting? And basically I have to tell you that there's no correct answer to that question. Basically anyone you ask is going to give a different answer and for different reasons, but ultimately, I think that anybody can learn either or both of these crafts. It's not an impossible thing, and actually, once you get the hang of it, either one of them are ultimately pretty easy. It's just that initial learning curve of getting the basics down that it makes or breaks a lot of people, and admittedly, it does take quite a while to get the hang of one or the other. For me, both of them literally took me years to just get the gist of what I was supposed to be doing. For me, I actually tried to learn crocheting first, even though I succeeded at learning knitting before crocheting, even though I was trying longer at crochet. I think the first time I picked up a crochet hook and tried to learn, I was 7 or 8 years old. Second grade, during one of my many lengthy illnesses where I missed months of school, my mom tried to teach me to crochet just to give me something to do to occupy my time other than just lay there bored. But I was able to get the initial chain down, and that is as far as I got. I'm pretty sure that chain I made was able to circle the house about 10 times. I got the chain down great. Everything beyond that, I couldn't really grasp what I was supposed to be doing. And even as an adult, when I was trying again to learn to crochet, initially that was my problem again, was trying to figure out where does the hook go and what do I do? And trying to learn it from books was useless for me personally. I know other people who've succeeded that way, but for me, trying to learn it from a book just confused me more. It wasn't until I started watching YouTube tutorials, believe it or not, I'm watching tons of them, that I finally figured out what I was supposed to be doing. And even at that, it took me watching a ton of them to figure this out, which I feel really stupid for now in hindsight, but I mean, it does take a bit for your brain to process it and figure out what goes where and what do you do. But once you have that, it's really, really easy. With knitting, I think I first tried to learn at 16, and I initially wanted to learn to make those Mike Nesmith wool hats, which ironically are still my best seller to this day, but I wanted to make one for myself personally. Just as a Monkees fan, I wanted one desperately and could not find anywhere that sold these things that looked anywhere close to his. The closest I found was a ski hat with no pom-pom that was pastel green. Not even close. The color of the yarn back there is closer to the correct color, but that's not what I use for mine. I actually use wool yarn. That's just Red Heart stuff I use for decorative things. But anyway, so I got a book and a kit, and I figured I'm gonna learn to do this. It's gonna be badass. I'm gonna make all the things. Just like with crocheting, trying to learn from a book with diagrams just confused me further. I got as far as casting on, which is further than, well, maybe not further than crocheting, because with that I did get the chain stitch down, but that was it. But I was able to get the loops on the needle. And then from the way they worded it in their diagrams, I was literally just going dink, 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 dink from one needle to the other, literally just moving them back and forth, because the way they described it made it sound like that's what you do. And even looking at the book again now that I know what I'm doing, the way they worded it legitimately is confusing. So, I mean, if I tried to follow that now, if I didn't know what I were doing, I'd probably make the same exact mistake. But yeah, I was literally just slipping the stitches from one needle to the other and trying to figure out why am I not getting anywhere. But yeah, so basically I quickly gave up on that, and it wasn't until I was, I want to say about 25 or 26 that I decided to try again, but this time, now that YouTube is a thing, I went on there after somebody pointed out that there's tutorials for literally anything you can think of on there. So I started looking some up and realized there's knitting tutorials. I wonder, and watching a few of them just for shits and giggles, I'm like, that makes total sense. I think I can follow what they're doing. And weirdly as this sounds, I took 2 pencils and some dental floss just as a test, because I didn't want to invest money into a thing and then have it fail again. And I literally cast on the dental floss in place of yarn and used pencils and went through the motions and found, hey, I'm actually able to follow this and it's working. So just right then and there, I went and ordered some yarn and needles online, and the rest is history. Took off without a hitch. So that one, for me, personally, I found easier. I tried again the following year with crochet with tutorials on YouTube, and it took me, I think, about 4 months of watching different basic stitch tutorials to figure out what the hell I was doing at all beyond the initial chain. And even then, it took me forever to figure out how exactly to make it line up right, which stitch do I go into, because for the longest time everything was off kilter with my stuff, say nothing of trying to knit or crochet in the round. All of that was just all over the place, and I felt like a huge failure, and like, I'm never gonna get the hang of this. Maybe I just wasn't meant to be a crocheter. Fast forward about 5 or 6 years now, I have more crocheted items in my Etsy shop than I do knitted items, so go figure. But there are certain things that I've found to be easier in one medium than the other. Like color work, for instance, I find way easier in crocheting than in knitting. I can do stripes in knitting. That's about it. I have yet to figure out in Tarja, Fair Isle, any of those color work techniques. I always have gaps or puckering, and just, I have not yet mastered it. That is like my Achilles heel of knitting so far. I am really trying hard to figure that one out, but so far no luck. Whereas with crocheting, I can do like all of the above in crocheting, like it's no freaking problem. But then there's other things I can do in knitting that are way fancier than anything I could dream of doing in crocheting. Like, I can do fancy lace work in knitting and multitask this while watching a movie at the same time, and I even really have to think about it. It just comes naturally to me. It's really simple for me. I try anything that's even slightly fancy with crochet, and I have to devote my full attention to it to make sure I don't screw it up. So, I mean, it just depends. I know people who do both of these things and find them swapped the other way around in terms of difficulty levels for them, and there's like a million other different things involved with both of these crafts to take into account than just the ones I've mentioned as examples here. It's just a unique experience for everybody, and there's different skill sets that different people have, and also hand-eye coordination is another thing, too, that makes a huge difference. I myself am not that strong in it, so for me, this is something I personally struggle with. But other people, they're great with it. It's part of why I can't, I'm really not that great with trying to, like, speed knit. I mean, I feel like I'm fast until I watch actual speed knitters, and I'm like, yeah, there's no way in hell that I could ever keep up with that in a million years. But, I mean, at least I have enough hand-eye coordination to do the thing at all, which is better than most hobbies I've tried to pick up over the years. So, I mean, at least I feel accomplished for that. It's definitely a medium that I feel like, honestly, anyone could learn if they have enough patience and if they devote enough time to it and just keep trying over and over and over again. And if it doesn't make sense from one tutorial, watch another one. If it doesn't work from that one, just keep going through until you find one that makes sense. Because you will find one that makes sense. That's what I did with both of these, and with every new technique that I learn with them. This is actually how I learn them, is just going through until I find a tutorial on the specific thing I want to learn, until it makes sense in my head and I can do it. So, that's just my 2 cents. That's my view on this. That's my answer to which is harder, and my, in a nutshell, answer is ultimately neither one. I find them to be about equal. So, till next time, if you like this video, click the like button. If you're not already and you'd like to be, click subscribe. Leave comments down below. Until next time, bye!